Sound. What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and I'm back with Millsy. And first of all, I apologise. The reason the show didn't happen last week was all on me. Stacked out, really busy. It's a disgrace, actually. I am a fucking disgrace. But we're back to normal. Millsy, how's your week been, my friend? Or your 2 weeks?
2 weeks, mate. I have had Mike and Millsy withdrawal symptoms. I think at a peek behind the curtain last week, we did plan to do a show. My sort of work and commitments didn't land with yours. We were a little bit all over the place, but mate, I am back. I am up for a discussion on the Mighty Blues. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. It's just cracking on, really. We've got the new merch that's come out. So, guys, if you want to go get yourself a hoodie, go and get yourself a hoodie. We've got football prizes back, so sponsoring the channel, which is really, really good. So, channel's going in all the right directions. So, great. And I've got to sort my washing machine out. So, that's fucking superb. What an excellent way to start the show. Oh, now we drop the fucking phone everywhere. It's absolutely brilliant.
You only get chaos on the Mike and Millsy show. Chaos.
You only get that on the Mike and Millsy show. I'm telling you now. Oh my god, fucking hell. So, what I want to do, if it's all right with you, I mean, I'm not happy with that height whatsoever now, but there we go. What I want to do, and what I wanted to mention to you was, obviously, we've gone into international break. There's only been one player essentially who has really gone with the England team this time, Jordan Pickford. He didn't play a game the other night. No. Are you glad that, for example, Michael Keane's not in the fold anymore, and some of the other players? And I know that seems a weird question to ask, but the reason I ask it is because I often find that our players either come back injured, and we'll talk about another one in a minute. There's usually issues, whereas this time I feel like we're not going to have any of those worries.
I mean, despite what you or me or the listeners think about international football, it's club first and foremost, isn't it? So England could have been playing Scotland and they could have won 3-0 and the country could have been bouncing. But if Jordan Pickford comes back injured, all of a sudden it's a massive negative, isn't it, international football? So for me, the less players we have involved in meaningless competitions and qualifiers against the likes of Andorra, the better. Now, I am all for putting an England shirt with Calvert-Lewin on my little boy when there's a World Cup or there's a European Championship, or putting a French international shirt with Luca Digne on the back during a summer tournament, which is World Cup, European Championships. I find that the international breaks, and there's another one coming up in a few weeks, they just seem to be all the time. Now, I don't know the answer to what you do, because there's massive international football fans. I think me and you were right behind the country in the summer in the Euros, and lots of people were. So we do get behind the country. I don't know if we could do something where there's a set window each season where you just get a period where you take the players away, and whether that be for 3 weeks opposed to 3 lots of 1 week. I don't know. Could that happen? And then give them a week off in January and get back into it in February? Possibly. But for me, I find international football, especially when... Now, it works both ways. Sometimes you can look at injuries and suspensions and go, wow, this is coming at a really good time. But they're few and far between. And we're coming off the back of a really good result at Old Trafford. So selfishly, you want to take that into West Ham at home. You want Goodison Park to be rocking for the next home game, which it will be. But we've had such a long time to get there, and it does kill it a little bit for me. As far as players being involved, Michael Keane, I think Michael Keane started maybe 2 seasons ago quite well under Marco Silva, and he made a mistake for England. And typical Michael Keane, he had 4 or 5 bad games on the back of it. So Michael Keane is an example of someone that I really don't want to play as many football games as possible, because when he makes a mistake, it stays with him for a number of games. So the less chances he's got to make a mistake can affect him mentally. And especially in a week where Yerry Mina may not be back, he's playing late Thursday into Friday. Ben Godfrey may have to cover one of the fullback positions. I'm sure we'll get into that. So Michael Keane in particular, I'm happy he's rested up. Jordan Pickford didn't get minutes, which I'm quite pleased about, because he's been carrying a shoulder injury. Yeah. I think what you're going to move on to, Mike, is probably the France situation, isn't it, with Luca Digne? So Luca Digne is now coming back to Finch Farm here. So if I can flip it on you, the same question, and also how do you look at Luca Digne now coming back into, because that's probably the last position apart from goalkeeper, we needed an injury in.
Yeah, to be honest, I firmly believe it is the worst position to get an injury in because, it's funny. Even at right back, we can say we've got John Joe Kenny, we've got Mason Holgate who can play right back.
Yeah.
We genuinely only have one other left back option, and that's Ben Godfrey. We don't have a Nelson Nkunku because he was stupidly let out on loan, in my opinion. It looks like, from what I understand, and I don't know how much has been said, because I've got to be honest, I haven't. International week, I search Everton every morning and every night, but there's very little happening. So you might miss things in the middle. But from what I understand, it's a grade 1 tear. If it is a grade 1 tear, he's out for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
it's that simple. So this is now 2 games at Goodison that we can win, in my opinion. West Ham, Watford. Then we're away at Wolves, and then I think we've got a tough game against.
I'll just get our fixtures
I know we're at Tottenham. I know we play Tottenham the week after. I just can't think of the game in the middle. But again, he might now be out until the next international break.
Well, yeah. So we've got Wolves on the 1st of November. Then we've got Spurs at home on the 7th of November. Then comes another international break, and then comes Manchester City, Brentford, and Liverpool.
That's what I mean. So it's just like, all of these games are stacking up. Now, he genuinely could miss the next 2, and then he's got to recover in the international break. You just don't need that. Spurs is a big game because, Spurs have a decent record at Goodison. Everton needs to be getting, in my opinion, we need to be winning our home games. We've got 2 difficult home games coming up against 2 decent sides on paper. We really could have done with Luka Dean fit. It's frustrating. It's just frustrating. And the more international breaks you have, the more you get these chances of picking up that knock or having a bad game, and not being quite potentially ready. Who knows? It's just. I love international football. I watch the Boyz tonight. I watch England, etc. But it frustrates me sometimes. The timing of it, I think, is pretty shit, to be honest.
And it just seems to be that many. It just spoke about there. In another 3 or 4 weeks, we've got another scenario where, heaven forbid, Yerry Mina doesn't come back in time for Manchester City. Yerry Mina comes back injured. Jordan Pickford comes back injured. Richarlison, who will be fit again. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who will be fit again.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You think about it, Calvert-Lewin could be fit again for the next 2 games, go away on international duty, and who knows what he comes back like. It's just...
Exactly,
I'm not a massive fan. I'm going to just touch on the Man United game. I know it was 2 weeks ago now or whatever, but obviously I was on the Don Robbie show, which was an absolutely awesome experience. Really buzzing for it. I'm just gonna be straight off the cuff and put it on you straight away. You ready, Mills? Are you ready?
Go on.
Should Tom Davies have shuttle pass?
My initial reaction was, what the hell are you doing not putting your foot through that? I probably still feel that way, if I'm honest, but I can understand the arguments also. I mean, someone in work said to me, can you imagine if Mina was onside? Imagine the praise. Someone said to me, can you imagine if James Rodriguez did that and pulled it off? Would be putting memes up all the time. So I think it's a player really low on confidence who probably wasn't expecting to be put in a situation where he can get 3 points for Everton at Old Trafford, and he's looked very quickly at what's going on, and he's seen what he thinks to have been the best option. In hindsight, it was a really, really big gamble on Tom Davies' behalf to play that pass, opposed to hitting it. Now, if you hit the keeper or you hit any sort of crossbar or post, it's only going to come back at speed because of how close he was to the goal. It's going to come back at pace. De Gea's not grasping onto that if you whack it at him, and all of a sudden anything can happen. The worst option in hindsight was what he did. I did see some, not negativity, but I've seen some blame attached from some sections of the fan base towards Yerry Mina. I don't really buy that. I think Yerry Mina is a defender who got really excited, and he's not coached every week. He's not been coached as a young centre forward. He's not coached as a professional centre forward as to where to hold the line from an attacking sense. So I personally don't blame Yerry Mina. Initially, I thought it was a bad decision from Tom Davies. I still do, but there's part of me that can understand that he maybe thought that was the option because he's so low on confidence. Because it was that quick of a moment, maybe that's not running through his head the way we're looking at it now. But if he just skied that over the bar, what would the reaction have been? Does that go through his mind quickly? It's a player really low on confidence for me, and I wish that would have turned out differently because it's Tom Davies and because he's an Evertonian, and because despite the fact that I don't think he's the answer to a lot of questions that we have going forward this season, he's an Evertonian. And for an Evertonian to have got that moment at Old Trafford with the crowd back in, to have scored that goal, I'm so disappointed for Tom, to be honest with you. I do think it was the wrong decision. I've listened to you. I know what you initially thought. I've seen your initial reaction, which was an amazing show. By the way, congratulations. I watched it, and it was fantastic. And even the reaction video where you're on the train and stuff, it was brilliant. So I know what you initially thought, but we're now 9 or 10 days removed. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I don't hold anything against Tom.
Okay.
I didn't at the time instantly, if you remember. I didn't on the train, and I don't now. I really worry about Tom Davies's mental state. We don't know him enough to be able to judge it or not. I'm not one of his friends. I don't know anyone connected with Tom, but he gets dogs abuse. And look, some of it's justified. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't probably gone too far on a podcast or, said, but there's the amount of times I've said Tom Davies isn't a footballer. That must be really upsetting to a man who's 24 or 23 years old, who wants to be a footballer, who is doing everything he can, who is trained with England at 16, to hear people like me who haven't played at his level judging him.
I'm guilty of it as well.
Yeah, we all are, because every single football fan forms an opinion. And sometimes they're negative to players, and it's difficult to judge how far the line is, and sometimes you cross it. And I just think Tom is probably on his arse mentally. He's probably on his arse. He's picked what he probably thought was his get out of jail free card with Yerry Mina to his left hand side, because I'm not saying he thought about it in that split second. I think as an individual, I think that's a real difficult situation. But when he takes that touch and he opens his body up, he's got 20,000 Man United fans on top of him. He's got De Gea. He's already in a bad place, probably because he's had 3 substitute appearances and he's not getting any minutes anytime soon.
And it's such a far cry from what he was, because you're saying there, I think it's a really good point. You're saying there's some fans, I'm guilty of it, of maybe publicly said things, but it's such a turnaround from when he first broke through, because the fans latched onto Tom Davies to the level that they were saying, we don't care that Ross Barkley's leaving because we've got Tom Davies now. And lots of fans were saying that. Tom Davies, in that second season under Ronald Koeman, was brilliant. And look at the confidence he had at home to Manchester City when he ran from almost the halfway line, taking on a couple of players and scoring at the Gladys Street. Look at the confidence he had then, and look at the love that came with that from the Evertonians. It felt so much different now for Tom Davies, and I'm like you, I do feel for him, and I wished he would have had that moment last Saturday.
But your issue is that Tom Davies has a purple patch every season. So, for example, last season, I remember at the Anfield derby, I remember saying Tom Davies was the best midfielder, best player on the pitch. He broke down everything. I remember the 4 games before that, he was brilliant. We were all moaning that Carlo was substituting Tom Davies instead of Alan, if you remember.
Yeah.
And he does this every single season. He hasn't got that consistency. And look, I'm not going to go in and absolutely, destroy Tom again. What I'm saying is I get why Old Trafford happened, and I get why it will probably happen in the future, and I get why he's not going to be in shooting opportunities until, and I genuinely believe this, he's not an Everton player. I think it's done. I don't think he can come back And that's what I felt when he played that pass, because as you rightly say, a confident footballer shoots.
He
That's
does,
it.
and I think it's such a shame. Not only because he is an Evertonian, but going back to what I said there, the fact that he did break through. He could have been a lad from anywhere across the country. He could have been a lad from when he broke through and scored that goal against Man City, and he finished that 16-17 season so strongly to the level that fans were so excited by him. It's such a shame what's happened, but there's been no progression. Now, I don't know the reasons for it. I will accept that he's had a number of managers as an argument for it. I will also accept an argument that maybe it is just a purple patch when he broke through, similar to, let's go way back to the likes of Danny Cadamartri, to Francis Jeffers. They burst on the scene, these young players, and they grab you along for the journey and they tail off. Maybe some of it is that as well. I just feel it's such a shame where we are with Tom Davies, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think an amicable parting of the ways eventually will happen.
Yeah, and I hope, I hope it is amicable. I hope the fans remember that he's still a Blue. He hasn't shit on us. I can't put Ross Barkley in the same category as Tom Davies.
No.
Do you get what I mean? Right, moving on. And probably the last thing I'm going to mention, because there isn't really loads to talk about. Some comments have been made regarding Richarlison potentially signing a new deal. Some other comments were made today about Newcastle potentially putting in a bid for Richarlison. I mean,
never happening.
I am going to ask you what your thoughts are on the Newcastle one, but before that, what's your thoughts on the Richarlison new contract? Obviously, it keeps an asset, which is great. I have struggled with Richarlison this season, and I equally struggled with him last season. I love him, but he's frustrated me a little bit this season. He frustrated me last season. His comments were really nice. When Rafa come out and said, we had a great chat, we had a great lunch, that was lovely. I kind of want to hear more of that. And then he comes on Twitter and he starts being nice to Everton again, and starts doing nice tweets again. Where are you with Richie?
It changes so much because, like I said to you, after the Burnley game, I witnessed firsthand, him leaving the game 10 minutes after full time, and in an Everton victory, he was so unhappy because he got substituted. That gets me one way. Then I look at some comments and I look at the fact he's so good with young Evertonians 99% of the time. He's a young lad who just wants to be loved. He wants to be the hero. Is there anything really wrong with that when you remove yourself from it? No. What I will say about Richarlison is I think the United game on Saturday just gone, and I could be wrong, and I'm opening myself up here to comments. I think that was the first time that when he hasn't played, we haven't missed him. And that says a lot for me because we usually miss him. When he doesn't play, and even this season, if you look Aston Villa and Queen's Park Rangers, if you go back to seasons prior when he hasn't played, that suspension last season where we lost 3 games on the bounce after the Goodison derby.
Yeah,
I forget who it was against. Was it Southampton,
Man United,
Leeds, and Newcastle? Yeah, Man United. That was it. Yeah. So we lost 3 on the bounce there, and then we got it back in, and we beat Fulham straight away.
Yeah.
I think from his point of view, I think if he signs a new deal, I think he'd probably want some assurances, whether it be a handshake agreement or something in writing, that there would be some sort of figure in mind that would allow him to amicably walk. What that figure would be, I don't know. I think we'd want a figure that maybe teams wouldn't pay. He'd want a figure nearer the price we paid for him, which wouldn't suit me as a fan. I think he'd want something like that. I don't think he would sign. I don't think he would sign a new deal without something like that. As a fan and looking at it from Everton Football Club's point of view, is he nearing into? I don't know. Is it now 18 months we're getting into? Because I know he signed just before Carlo came in 19. He signed a 4.5-year deal. So sorry, maybe 2.5 years. Yeah. So we get into the summer and we're into 2 years left. If that happens with the way the world is now, the finances that you see, teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona, who are absolutely goosed, you rule them out. To Bayern Munich ever go and spend really, really big on players, you rule them out. So then you're looking at someone in England who probably would pay the fee that we'd ask for because there's money in English game. We're not protecting ourselves from a scenario where we're then taking a figure that's not not appreciative of what he's worth to us. So I'm all for him signing a new deal. I'm still, when I remove myself from instant match reactions, when I remove myself from instantly seeing things I don't like on the pitch, where he's fighting over penalties, fighting over free kicks, and things that I don't like, when I sit down and I think about Richarlison, I'm such a huge fan of his. And yes, he does frustrate me and he does anger me. So as a fan, if he signs a new deal and there wasn't a clause in there that really screwed us, I am all for it.
I actually can't believe how well you've just elegantly put that. That is exactly how I feel. Honestly, that's fucking brilliant. Yeah, I completely.
The Newcastle thing, though. Come on, if Newcastle come in for him, Mike, just absolutely.
Well,
they're around 2 years away from getting it right to then go for that level of player for me.
Let's talk about Newcastle. Let's get on to them because essentially they've certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons. £230 billion their owners are worth. A lot of people are being completely sold by this PIF thing, which is the company that has bought Newcastle, albeit the guy that runs it is essentially one of the top guys in Saudi Arabia who, by all accounts, never proved, but ordered journalists to be killed, people to be killed. The particular journalist in question was then boiled in a vat of acid. So I wouldn't go manage Newcastle. Let's just say that. But
or report on them.
No. But let's get into how serious this could be for the Premier League. You've got 6 teams who shit themselves trying to influence this takeover, in my opinion. You've got 6 teams who didn't want to be in the league. You've got Newcastle United now, who financially, and I'm certainly not going to say the biggest because they're not historically, but financially, Newcastle United, whether anyone likes this or not, is the biggest club in the world on paper. We know what it's like to invest, spend money, waste money.
Yeah.
Where's Newcastle going?
If Newcastle are clever and without disparaging us, they would look at us as the model not to follow. Because in 2017, in 2019, and little parts in between, we have blown opportunities. We have massively blown opportunities. What we did is we went and bought what we thought to be very good Premier League players who had never played at a higher level. They were just sticking out from where they were, and where they were wasn't really good enough. They were playing for Sunderland, Burnley, Swansea. We brought in players from abroad in 2019 who we had no idea if they would even adjust, never mind thrive. They should look at us as the model not to follow. In order to do that, they first of all got to appoint a manager. They've got to go and appoint a manager, and then they've got to very, very quickly jump the middle pack, because if they go from where they are now to 9th, to 8th, to 7th, is that really improvement? They've got to have a really good plan. Now, Newcastle, I was reading in a really good article in The Athletic, are probably the best club to purchase because the purse strings were so tight, and it now gives them such wiggle room to go for it. I think I read an article where they've got a £200 million free hit before they even worry about FFP.
Yeah.
If they appoint the right man, and for me the right man wouldn't be a Conte or a Mourinho or even go on.
I think we might have the same man.
I don't know. I don't want it to happen, and it's not going to happen. But if they went and got Rafa, for instance, I think that would be their perfect scenario to give Rafa money. That's not going to happen. I think that's what they would want. They've got to get someone along, and I don't know who it would be. There's rumours Frank Lampard.
The manager is Steven Gerrard.
Do you think?
He's rebuilt Rangers. He's worked on different.
It's probably a job that he would jump at, isn't it?
He's a big enough name to attract big enough players. He's a man that's respected, although I can't stand him.
Yeah.
But from a manager perspective, I don't think there's anyone out there who fits that job more perfectly than Steven Gerrard.
It's a good shout, yeah. And then if they go bring in if they bring in 2 good players each window, and they're sensible with it, and they don't scattergun it like we did, I think they've got a really, really good chance, Newcastle. And I hate saying it because for some reason I've never liked Newcastle, and I don't know what it is about Newcastle. I have never, them and Tottenham have always been 2 teams I've never liked. I think the Newcastle thing comes from the arrogance of they finished second twice in the 90s and they fill the stadium because they're the only team in the city. They're all of a sudden a big club. I think it takes a lot more than that to be a big club. And their fans have always oozed that arrogance for me. They've sung songs about themselves saying how good they are, and they've always wound me up. It's the worst team for me other than that lot across the park. It's the worst team to inherit these riches. But yeah, I don't think it's as simple as now they're there, because you've seen how very easily it can go wrong. If they're smart, they look at the Everton model from 2017 to 2020, and they say, we don't do that. And that's sad to say. That's sad to say, isn't it?
They do the Man City model, which it took 4 years. It took 4 years for Man City to win the title.
It did. And I remember Man City didn't even get into the Champions League one time. Remember the game where Crouch scored for Tottenham, and Tottenham got in the Champions League ahead of them because Harry Redknapp was getting soaked by David Bentley, wasn't he, in the interview area? So it took a few years for Man City. Newcastle are probably behind where City were, because City before this money had the Sinatra money, the money where they had Sven-Goran Eriksson there first. They had some good players like Petrov and decent players. Newcastle haven't got. Newcastle have got one good player for me. That's it. They've got one good player. The rest, okay, maybe good's a bit harsh, but they've got one standout player. The rest will just find careers in the Championship and the bottom half of the Premier League for the rest of their careers. They're not that good. A lot of work to be done there. They are not in a position. I'll put my neck on the line right now. They are not in a position in January or the summer to go for the Richarlison. They are not. They're not going to be anywhere near the level. They can throw as much money at Richarlison as they like. Richarlison has always seemed to me an ambitious person. I have never picked up on the fact that Richarlison is greedy for money. He seems to be greedy for success. He wants to be the man, and he speaks about Champions League. He puts videos up, and he got his first call up to the Brazil squad with his family crying and jumping up and down. He wants to be a successful footballer. I don't think Richarlison is going to be. They can't get Richarlison in the next 2 windows. I'll put my neck on the line and say that.
Fair enough. Well, I think that is it, really. I've got nothing to add. I really don't think there's much going on from an Everton perspective, apart from obviously the dock is being filled as we speak now. There's some dredging going on in the Irish Sea, which is great, but we're still 3 years away.
It's going to be. I drive past there to go to where I work in the city centre. I drive past the Bramley-Moore dock, and some of the wall has now been knocked down, and you can see in. And we've said on this many times, haven't we? It's going to be so emotional to walk away from what we have, but it's going to be so exciting by what this may bring as well. And I see a guy. There's a guy on Twitter who puts drone videos up. I think his name's Baz. Keep doing those. I love them. Yeah,
he's a good lad. I've messaged him. One thing I was going to say, and just to end this, Everton get a new stadium.
Yeah.
As a football club, Everton become instantly more attractive. Mashiri would walk away with, I would assume, a profit because he's not stupid. Could you imagine Everton being up for sale?
It wouldn't surprise me if there was something in the pipeline with USM Holdings that something will happen with that when the new stadium. I think USM Holdings is such a successful organisation that I think where Everton are at the moment, commercially and on the pitch, I think for them to be the forefront of that might be quite damaging. For them to have a lead man in there, in Farhad Moshiri, for them to have some sort of connection, I can't see a scenario where they don't take something because we're not soft. They've put in already. They're in already. I don't see a scenario where they don't take more. And is more selling a football club who, you know, at that time in 3 years' time, we may not be no better off on the pitch. If we are better off on the pitch, I'm not naive enough to think it's nothing more than a domestic trophy. It's certainly not going to be a Champions League or a Premier League. Very unlikely. You're looking at a domestic trophy. Is that enough to attract massive investment and say, look what we're building here? Come and take some of it. I think USM will get involved more. I think that's the end game. Farhad Moshiri may walk away with a very, very hefty thank you, Farhad, brown envelope.
Yeah,
I can't see Everton being publicly for sale. I just can't see it. I think USM. I think if anything, it's going to be USM.
Fair enough. Well, now I'm definitely leaving it there.
Where is this video?
Oh, don't even ask.
Listen, I'm going to take your listeners behind the scenes. This gentleman, my good friend, asked me to assist him with a voiceover because he had a treat for you guys when he hit 10K. So this has been in the works. He hits 10K. Not only am I entitled to royalties, I am excited to see it. Where is this video?
It will be finished soon, I promise. I have got the footage and everything now. It just needs putting together, I promise. So, peace off.
I can't help it.
Guys, look, we're going to leave it there. Millsy, it's a pleasure as always.
All mine.
Yeah, guys, peace.